Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So as you can see, we are back at Bloc Shop Hochelaga. So obviously, in the last episode, I was having the fight of my life against the mega white tape project at this gym and did not get the send, even though I felt like I couldn't have been closer. And like I mentioned at the end of that episode, I had to do my workout at Bloc Shop after the rose block session later in that day. And while I was doing my workout, I was watching them reset the sector with the black to white tape, and in its place they were putting up a brand new looking white tape, as you can see on the right side of the screen there with the green holes. And so I normally try to get a good variety in of different gyms and different styles, but I was just feeling super inspired by that last white tape project we were doing at Bloc Shop, and I just kind of wanted to do another one, and they had just put a new one in its place. So I decided it was back to Bloc Shop Hochelaga. So the plan today is to do 2 sessions of bouldering in this gym, and so I knew that I would have sort of all day to work on the boulders here. So as I'm starting this morning session, here I am making my way into like the first properly hard boulder of the session, and I'm starting to realize that I'm not feeling it very much. This session I was feeling pretty like exhausted. Actually, no, I wouldn't say it was exhausted. I should mention I took 2 days of rest after the battle with the last white tape because it obviously annihilated my body. Like after the rose block session, I took 2 rest days, and my body had to recover like so intensely that by the time I started training today, my body was like super dormant and I could just feel it. It was like really hard to activate any try hard or just really feel super good in the session. So this morning session, I knew it was going to be kind of trash. That being said, like it could be worse. Like I wouldn't say I was feeling weak. I was just feeling like super dormant, and it was really hard to try hard. But luckily this white tape, as you can see, actually isn't too intense on the grip strength. So I thought, okay, let me just put some attempts on to sort of suss it out. I don't think I'm in any condition to send a white tape right now. But yeah, I just kind of suss out the moves here for a few tries. Even though this boulder is like not too bad on the grip, it's quite physical. It's like quite a full body workout, and even just my whole body was quite tired. It wasn't just my grip. So I'm trying this crux in the middle here, going into this undercling move, and it just feels like ridiculously hard in the session, and I can't really get a gauge on just how hard it is because I know that I'm feeling off. But that being said, I was seeing the setters struggle with that move in forwarming, and so I figured, okay, this is just like the really hard part of the boulder. I will come back when I'm feeling a bit better, hopefully in the second session, and see if I can do that move. And so since I couldn't quite work that green boulder in the session, I thought that I would stick to some black tapes and red tapes. So this V10 here, I think was quite my style, and I think that's the only reason I was able to get a send of it in this session. I could tell that I was trying extra hard to do this boulder, whereas like let's say this was in a comp boulder, I feel like this one would go super well for me and I could maybe do it in 1 or 2 tries. But in this session, it felt quite limit. But that was a fun one. And this boulder we're trying here as well, I thought also looked super my style. So maybe I could still have a chance on this boulder, even though it is quite physically intense. I like how Bloc Shop always tries to incorporate some still like super physical finger intensive boulders mixed in with like the mega kind of comp style looking boulders as well, like the green one. So here I take a fall on this black thing, and I guess when we're looking at these videos, I look like I'm feeling like pretty okay. But especially on this attempt, when I hit this blocked crimb, this is now the first instance where the flash bump really hits me in this session. I don't usually get flash pumped. I actually don't know how it started. Like I didn't feel super pumped after the first black V10 we did, but all of a sudden I felt it. Like as soon as I hit that blocked crimp, I got ridiculously flash pumped, and it actually didn't really go away throughout the session. And after I got super flash pumped, I said, okay, I better go stick to some red tapes, which are graded V8 and 9, because I don't think I have a chance on the few other physical looking black tapes that are up in the gym right now. So here I am trying this V9, which is a toe catch move. Obviously a very potent weakness of mine, and it definitely took me a few tries to figure it out. It was quite tricky, and the ending of this boulder actually felt quite desperate as well. Like when I started to move off of the last sloper up to the crimps, the flash pump hit me again, and I could tell that it was going to be with me for the rest of this session. And like I said, it's been a while since I've been flash pumped, so I'm not used to it. So we move on to a more technical coordination style boulder, which hopefully would allow me to avoid the flash bump as much as possible, because this one isn't super physical. This one is definitely quite tricky. Obviously, we're starting on a dual text foot with the right, and we have to jump off of it, which makes for a very weird element of this boulder. It feels like you can't really weight the foothold that you're jumping off, which is obviously super counterintuitive, especially because it's hard to actually pull off this left-hand crimp because it's super blocked. So it took me quite a few tries to figure out how to barely weight the right foot and kind of pull off the left to do this hand foot stab. And jumping off of this side pull up to the slopey jug thing was also quite tricky. I feel like I didn't have good jumping power today, so I had to try extra hard on that move. And so after that, it was on to this black tape, which was one of the less physical looking black tapes. So I figured I should be at least able to try this one. And overhead press moves, I also struggle with quite a lot. So I was interested to see how I could perform on this boulder. And what I was realizing actually was it was definitely like a full body destruction I was feeling in this session, or at least full body dormantness. Like I found I was getting exhausted the longer that I hung around in this overhead press position, and my core would get really, really tired. And even though this boulder isn't like too intense on the grip or whatnot, I was having to really fight on this boulder, and it was quite difficult. Even though it is still not my style, I could tell that it was like maybe a little bit harder than it should be. So I figured I would give this boulder my best effort. At the very least, I could at least just, rep out some try hard attempts on this boulder for the remainder of the session. And then if I didn't send it, maybe I could come and do it again in the second session. And so, yeah, here you can see I'm like, okay, this volume mantle move seems like it should be doable. But from the beginning of this boulder, I did not have the physical capacity to do even just this mantle move from a couple moves from the bottom. But when I try it individually, it is pretty okay. We mantle up we go up to this little triangle that has a crimp on it, and then I'm sneaking my left foot out to actually like kind of a pancake little foothold. It's very slopey and it feels like nothing, and it makes this last move in the finish match very, very scary feeling. Like the left foot feels like it's gonna slip at any second. And so since this wasn't a send go, I didn't commit to trying to match it because it felt pretty death defying. And so I decided to put one more ground try on this boulder. Maybe I could figure something new out at the beginning, and if not, I'll try it again in the second session. And we have some other boulders to get to in the second session as well. Definitely want to get back on green, try this thing. And then there was another black tape with some crimps that I could hopefully try. So I had like 3 boulders in the second session to really prioritize. And after we realized that I'm not going to send this boulder on this attempt, I have to make sure that I get back to this one as well. And you can see I'm like really trying to find a technical way to work through this overhead press sequence. I'm like arching my back a lot to take the strain off of my pressing muscles because they are just not ready to activate right now. I get up into this mantle and I can tell that it's not going to happen. I'm trying decently hard though. And then when I realize that the mantle is not going to work, actually, I see if I can improvise some other beta, which maybe felt possible, but yeah, we'll just save that one for the second session and see if I can put it down. So here we are for session 2, and I was indeed feeling quite a lot better in the session, and I was feeling quite strong. So I knew that this was the session to send this green one, and I really, really wanted to send it during this session. And actually the biggest reason for that is not just because it's an epic white tape at Bloc Shop, but also because these holds are brand freaking new. And while they actually weren't quite as sticky as I thought, they have this weird texture where it eats away at your skin without you feeling it. I found when I was done working this boulder, my tips were super pink and shredded, even though it only was hurting like a little bit while I was trying it. So I was trying to send this boulder in as few attempts as possible. So I'm like trying to suss out the crux move a few times so that I can put it down from the start when I get up there. And actually luckily this boulder, like these first few moves are quite physical, and you have to be like flexing your core pretty hard to keep this double toe hook. But this boulder is kind of like a 1.5 move wonder, I think. It's not too bad until we get into this position here. Going up to the undercling is a bit hard, and then moving out of it is so hard. Like the undercling is super bad. I didn't, when I was first looking at this boulder, I thought it looked quite doable until you get up to this undercling and you realize just how like slopey it is. And then also, since you're like pinching dual techs, the pinch doesn't really provide you so much support. So I'm trying a few different sequences here. It looks like maybe a double clutch. I also saw the setters were trying to just go up to the undercling like I'm trying here, and then just do a really intense slap up. And I think on this next attempt, yeah, okay. So this is gonna also lead me into my tip of the day. So I have been trying this move with like my forearm resting on the lower hold a lot to go into the undercling, and it helps me out a lot. And let's check out what we see on my left arm right now. So today's tip of the day is not going to necessarily be a climbing movement or technique, but this is actually like a little secret training tool of mine that I keep in my backpack, and I actually haven't had to whip it out in a while. So this thing that I'm wearing, I actually don't remember what it is. I'm gonna have to Google it after I'm recording this video. It's like some kind of compression sleeve used for like other sports. It's not, the one that I have actually isn't fitted that tight. But anyway, the reason that I hang onto this thing and I keep it in my backpack is for situations like this. When I'm trying a move on a boulder that is just really eating away at my forearm skin, and it's just so painful that I can't try the move with my forearm, even though it's like the most effective way to do the move. Which in this case, I'm like now realizing the best way to do this move is to use my left forearm, go up into the undercling, and my forearm kind of like rolls me into the position I want. But like I said, obviously it's eating away at my forearm. So this thing doesn't, so obviously it's gonna help protect me from a bit of the pain, and it's gonna make this like big scab that I have in my forearm not get worse. But actually this thing does make it kind of harder to do a move like this. So the one that I have isn't super tight and it's like quite slippery. So it actually kind of makes this forearm rollover a bit harder because you can feel the sleeve is like kind of slipping and sliding, but it does help with the pain. So I'm at least able to try this move a few more times. So anyway, the tip of the day is if you, I don't know, like to use your forearms a lot like I do. I find that I do this a lot actually, especially when you have like maybe some big massive sloper that you got to kind of get your forearms involved. I find my forearms are always getting shredded up. So I would recommend keeping one of these in your backpack. I will link the one that I have in the description. I'm sure there's probably a better option out there, like maybe actually get like a compression sleeve that's tight. This one's kind of slippy. But yeah, I find this thing is quite helpful to avoid like making your forearm scabs really hurt more. And yeah, like I'm not sponsored by this product. This is just something I found on Amazon, so I'll just link the one that I use in the description if you're interested. But yeah, I'd recommend it. So I'm still feeling strong. I'm not that tired, but what's happening is at this point, I'm definitely starting to feel like these micro granules in these new holds eating away at my fingertips. And I know that I can only put a few more tries on this boulder, so I gotta make them count. And here I am realizing the forearm technique is like really the best, and it allows me to kind of just rock up a little bit more and then do this super, super desperate launch up to this second last hold. Because obviously like this undercling is so bad and the next hold is really far away. So you just have to like full force. Well, you gotta like kind of place your right hand on this pinch, kind of levitate it there, and then smack up to this next hold. And these couple tries where I'm like kind of close to hitting this next hold is where the fingertips like really started to hurt. Like, okay, now I'm actually like hitting this brand new hold and just firing right off of it. And I'm also hitting the bad spot too, so I don't know if I'm actually gonna stick it if I hit the hold on that spot. So yeah, I had to stop trying that boulder. I could definitely feel my tips were getting pink, and I can only, like, it's not funny anymore, the pink tips. And so I really need to protect myself. So I controlled myself and I stopped trying that boulder, even though I felt like I was starting to make progress. So it was back to this boulder, and I was feeling a lot better. I was able to send it on my first try in this session, and you know, it's a weekend at Bloc Shop. There happened to be someone in front of the camera, but that's what I get for filming on the weekends. So you just got to see me matching the finish hold on that. So this session here was not my best session. First, I start off by kind of making the dumb decision to come back and try this boulder again. Not super smart on my part. My skin was worse than I thought after yesterday's day of training, but somehow I convinced myself that it would be okay to come try this boulder again. I really, really wanted to do this one. Obviously, it's a super cool boulder, and I was feeling inspired by it, but as I put on a couple tries here, I am really feeling that my skin is indeed quite bad. It was like kind of so-so in the morning. I thought, yeah, maybe it'll be okay, maybe it'll hold up. But even just these two tries that I put on this boulder here, I could feel it was like getting worse every time I like grabbed those holds and like took that swing. And so I realized I screwed up. I should not have come back to try this boulder. And the other thing that made this session not the best was that since we've been having like a lot of sessions here at Bloc Shop Hochelaga recently, there were less boulders to choose from. This was the last black tape I had left in the gym, and it is not the kind of boulder you want to be trying with very pink tips. But I said, you know what, I really don't have much else to try today. Let me just put a few attempts on it. And the moves felt doable. This just felt like it was going to be a matter of pain tolerance. So we're going to see myself on this next try. Just saying, okay, if it's just about pain tolerance, let me just take the pain for one attempt and see if I can get the scent of this thing. And so these crimps at the start here are really sharp and quite small, and I am crying my way up these first few moves. I was like really testing my pain threshold on this attempt. And then I get up here, I'm like, okay, I better send it now. I don't want to have to do that again. A little foot blow, and there was no way I was going to be getting through that crimpy sequence again. So that was my last attempt. And then after that session, I was kind of just had a moment of like, oh man, like there were some like kind of moderate slabs I could have gone and tried, but I was just kind of demoralized. My skin was really pink. I didn't have too many boulders to like really get me psyched up to try left in Hochelaga. So I just said, screw it. I'm going to call the session like super early and I'll just go do my hangboard workout now. And that's what I did. And this session sort of was a nail in the coffin for an epiphany, you could say, that I've finally had. Obviously, you have been hearing me complain about my skin in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 episodes as we've been here in Montreal. And it's probably getting annoying. It's getting annoying to me at this point to say and feel. It is ridiculous how my skin has just been in a constant state of pink and on the verge of blood for the past 2 weeks or something. And this is not something I'm used to dealing with. Like back home in Ontario, we didn't have as much fiberglass, and the kinds of training that I was doing was like really a lot better on my fingertips, and I had immaculate skin always. Like I never get pink tips really. So this is quite the change of pace for me, and it has been I've been really struggling with it. And so today was like enough was enough. I had to like cut my boulder sessions so short, and like yeah, we were trying like a whole boulder with like brand new holds, and that was sort of making it extra worse. Like that was not so smart by me. Maybe I should have avoided that boulder altogether. But it's like still the common thing with my theme with Montreal is that it messes up my skin big time, like trying to go do all these boulder sessions. So the moral of the story is I am going to change this going forward. I need to really realize how important my skin management is and create a structured program that is going to cater to not having my tips be pink all the time. And there are ways that I can do this. For one is implementing more spray wall or like campus or kilterboard training on walls that aren't just filled with fiberglass. I think this is going to be very important, and I need to start doing it now. I've kind of been going through a phase where I've just been so psyched to go boulder in all these gyms. Obviously, you've noticed that I haven't been doing much other training like campus or kilter and spray wall. I've sort of just been under the impression that this is like just a phase that I'm going through, and since I'm feeling psyched, I'm just going to let myself go crazy and be psyched and go boulder all the time. But now it's like starting to catch up with me. I'm realizing that I need to create more structure, have some sessions that aren't just on like fiberglass boulders that are eating my skin up like crazy, and also keep my sessions under control. I haven't been mentioning it all the time, but usually a session of bouldering for me is like an hour, right? And that's what I try to keep it to. Some of these sessions I've been doing, I've been going all the way up to like an hour and 45 minutes. Like, especially on day one, like I think it was Alley Up and Beta Block Day or something. I did like an hour and 45 minute session and an hour and a half session, and I like obliterated my skin. I need to get my sessions under control as well. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling on a bit here, but I think that I'll talk more about this in the next episode, I think. But the moral of the story is I'm going to create a better structure for my training. I've been kind of just getting psyched and going like willy-nilly for a while, but I think I'm going to structure my training a bit. One, to keep my skin under control. This is really starting to suck. And two, because also the way I've been training recently is not so optimal to be preparing for these comps that are coming up soon-ish. And so I really need to get strict again and like really try and peak for these North American Cups. So anyway, me just going crazy and letting loose on all of these boulders is going to get under control, and we're going to start like probably a more structured schedule soon, and that's the idea. But we'll see. I'll probably talk about this more in the next episode. Anyway, I'm going to think a bit more about this during my rest day, maybe create a better structure for my program, and then I will probably start off the next episode with a nice program breakdown, and we can see what we can expect going forward for the next little bit. So look forward to that. Insert Kaji video here.